Hasn't. And if we expected a dramatic Sixth Sense moment, like a dead person revealing who killed them, this is the closest we got.
Okay, now not to get too morbid here, guys. Was somebody murdered in the family? Let me just tell you what's coming through. Somebody's coming through and they're making me feel like someone else's actions caused how they crossed over, or something happened to them.
That was my suspicion, yeah. And I had wanted to clarify that.
Though Edward gets a key part of this wrong.
Okay, is this female?
No.
Very sensitive energy. Very, it feels female to me. Who is this to you? Would I see this as being like a brother or a sister to you? It's not a sister, hello?
My ex-husband. They suspected that he died of a heart attack. He was only 42. And there was someone else in the room with him. And there was a lot of suspicious circumstances around it.
So John Edward did hone in on a suspicious death.
But what if we could have a snapshot of all the people John Edward said were clamoring to send a message to the living? What kind of people would we find they are? Well, they're not angry folks. They're not bitter about being taken too soon. We heard no stories of pain and suffering, no calls for revenge or settling of scores. These dead people are nice and maybe a little boring. But as we saw here, even a nice, boring word from the dead beats a whole sermon from anybody in this world.
She's making me feel that you have developed spiritually, like you're opening up more and more to this. These seem to be the people that are coming through. They're congratulating you on the baby. And she's making me feel like there's something with real estate or investments that come up around you that you're going to be getting involved with.
Still, something else happened that night in the group readings. A departed family member does seem to come through loud and clear.
Hold on. They tell me to acknowledge Anthony. Are you waving like that's me? That's you? Really?
For, of all people, Dateline cameraman Tony Pagano, one of two cameramen shooting our story. John Edward zeroes in on the fact that Tony's father has died.
Did you not see Dad before he passed? Had you either been away or had been distant?
Yeah, I was away.
Okay, because he's making me feel like we need to move past this. Was he a Yankees fan?
No, he'd die again if you heard that.
And he's telling me to acknowledge he found the ring. I don't know what this means.
Well, I had a ring that was given to me. I only wore one piece of jewelry beside my wedding ring. And when my dad died, the last time I saw him in the coffin, I took that ring off and put it on his hand. He said some things that were very personal that only I knew. And putting the ring on his finger, on my dad's finger when he died, was really something that I don't think anyone else saw.
When you watch a lot of these readings, ring, photo, dog, these things come up over and over, and you're almost sure to get a hit. I mean, I have maybe a dozen memories involving a ring in some way.
In fact, jewelry did come up several times during this group reading.
You're also acknowledging the ring. Do you have Mom's ring? They're making me feel like I need to talk about the bracelet or the watch. There's a bracelet or watch connection that comes up with this.
There was a lot of talk of special months.
I want to talk to you, and I want to talk to you about either the 10, which either means that it's the October, the month of October, or the 10th of a month having some type of meaning. But she's telling me to definitely talk about April. She's showing me April. Whose birthday is this?
Mine.
And of course, how people died. Cancer and heart disease are the two major causes of death. We heard a lot about that.
Connection, somebody passes from cancer, also there, because they're showing me cancer. There's some type of congestion that comes up in the chest. So either somebody had congestive heart failure, pneumonia, or they could not breathe, because there's a problem that comes up in this area. And who passed from the breast cancer?
But John Edward also came up with specific information. For these people, it seemed right on target.
Is there anybody with a unique S name? Did anybody have, you know what the disease of the skin is? Like when they have like prickly skin, like psoriasis? Who is this? You have it?
No, they used to tease me with my name sounds like psoriasis. It's Soraya.
What they're trying to show me is that somebody's adopted or raised by people who are not their biological parents. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay, that's for you. This is what's coming through. And they're telling me to connect you to the twins. Or twins? Yes? Do you understand this? Okay, who are the twins?
My daughters and granddaughters.
Our twins?
Both of them, both.
Okay.
And he was right about our cameraman Tony's father, Anthony. He had passed away.
You got Anthony. That's pretty good.
You got Anthony. We've seen mediums who mill about before sessions and greet people and chat with them and pick up things.
John Edward had made it a point to avoid any contact before that night's session. But remember this footage of Edward dancing? Tony was the cameraman and shot this just hours before the group reading.
You'd met Tony before, though, right?
Earlier that day, yeah.
They not only had met, but Tony told John Edward a critical piece of information during the shoot.
I mean, you'd spoken to him. Were you aware that his dad had died before you did this reading?
I think earlier in the day he had said something.
That makes me feel like, you know, that's fairly significant. I mean, you knew that he had a dead relative, and you knew it was the dad.
Okay.
So that's not some energy coming through. That's something you knew going in. You knew his name was Tony, and you knew that his dad had died, and you knew he was in the room, right?
That's a whole lot of thinking you got me doing then. Like I said, I react to what's coming through, what I see, hear, and feel. I interpret what I'm seeing, hearing, and feeling, and I define it. He raised his hand. It made sense to him. Great.
But a cynic would look at that and go, hey, you know, he knows it's the cameraman. He knows it's Dateline. You know, wouldn't that be impressive if he could get the cameraman to cry?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not at all.
But grieving is emotional, whatever the trigger. Tony, our cameraman, was clearly moved. So was Pam. She was in tears.
There's nothing more deep-seated and resonant with people than the idea of a dead loved one. This is a very vulnerable person. He has crossed, in my mind, a line into a rather sacred domain that, for me, would be off limits.
I tell people I do not see what I do as being grief therapy, and I don't want to be looked at as a grief therapist. I think that it can help you. It could be healing.
How do you respond to the charge that people like you, and maybe even you, make money off of people's grief?
Very clearly, every person who does what they do for a living needs to be paid so they can continue to do what they do.
What I asked you was, are you making money off people's grief? And it sounds like you're saying to me, hey, I could charge 3 times as much. That's how much these people want to do this.
You're right. I could charge 3 times as much, but I don't. I think that there's a value to what I do. You can pay me for my time, but you can't put a price tag on the experience itself. That is priceless.
Is it the experience that is priceless, or the passionate beliefs of John Edwards' followers that makes it possible? After all, non-believers aren't likely to seek out a medium, never mind pay one. If someone willingly wants to go, though, what's the harm?
We're never going to know the truth. Truth doesn't matter here.
Truth should matter. That the idea that the end justifies the means is always ethically a pretty dicey area. It might be okay if I flatter you a little or if I help you, but you're starting down a slippery slope when you start doing that.
But all 13 people who were at the group reading told us afterwards that the experience was worthwhile. Pam Pasica says all that matters to her is that she and people like her have found some comfort.
There are people that lose little children, that lose spouses, that lose parents. If they are walking away from him comforted and happy, and they can go on living their lives, what is the skepticism? What could he possibly be doing that they have some fault to say about it?
Because the dead are not here to dispute the matter, not to us anyway. We are quite literally left with the words of John Edward and the faces of the people who hang on his every word for some glimpse of a hereafter, believing there must be something else. Their loved ones have gone on. For them, if not for others, it is enough.
When you bury someone and you put the date of their death on the tombstone, you shouldn't do that. You should put "to be continued."